Information provided by Wall Street Petting Zoo is for educational purposes only and not intended to be financial advice. Please consult with a licensed financial advisor before making any financial decisions.
My name is Dan Carlson. Rob and I go all the way back to college together. We lived in the same dorm. I went to school for finance as my major. When I got out, I worked as a financial advisor for a number of years down in San Diego, California. I currently work as a contract auditor for the federal government. So we deal with lots of financial contracts and financial law and things like that.
Hello and welcome back to the Wall Street Petting Zoo. I'm Christopher Smith, and this week I and my co-host Robert Coburn sat down with Dan Carlson to ask him for his best current trading idea. This is an experimental segment, so if you'd like to hear more, please tweet at us to let us know that you would like to hear more of this segment.
I was going to take a position in it a few weeks ago, but I had some covered calls and I didn't want to switch everything up. I wanted to game the theta on those. In hindsight, I should have gone in a few weeks ago because it went up by about 10% over the last month, but it's dipped down since then a little bit. Is a company called McKesson. And McKesson, the symbol for it is MCK, is a very large, well-established company that they're a pharma company, but they don't make drugs. What they do is they sell like medical solution type.
Yeah, they do. They do software. I know. When I worked for a hospital, McKesson was like one of the software vendors.
So they do the software solutions and they provide a lot of things like that. So McKesson is the leader in making extreme like deep freezers. So apparently, and I didn't know this until maybe the last month or month and a half doing some research, there's like a very, very small market in general for extreme deep freezers. I guess freezers go down to a certain level, and then beyond that, there's just no reason to do it. It takes a lot more power. It's sort of specialized equipment. So McKesson makes them because they have the medical solutions branch of their company. But the COVID vaccine that Pfizer has that's coming out, it has to be kept at some insanely low temperature, like -70 or -90 degrees Fahrenheit, essentially until like the doctor pulls it out to get it ready and warm it up to inject it in you. So the vaccine that apparently has this 95% plus rate of working, that seems like they can make it in reasonably large numbers, the one that everyone kind of is banking on right now, it needs to be kept at this ridiculously low temperature. So I think that McKesson will probably go up quite a bit over the next year because I think that vaccine will come out. And when it comes out, I think that McKesson will be the first company that's just pumping out freezers like that. If I knew a smaller company, because McKesson, has a $20 or $30 billion market cap, they've been around forever. They have a pretty stable share price. I think this might be kind of a black swan type event for them, but they're such a big company that, if it doubled their price, I'd be shocked. I think it might raise the price by quite a bit, double digits. Like it might be a very safe investment that's going to go up by a pretty large amount. But man, if anybody has any research on any small publicly traded companies that have low market caps that make extreme deep freezers, man, I think there's going to be staggering growth in that, just because if the vaccine works, everyone's going to need one of those. The call sign on that is MCK.
Thanks so much to Dan Carlson for sharing his top trading idea. There are other reasons to like McKesson right now as well. Its PE ratio at about 13 is quite defensible compared to the rest of the market, and its price to free cash flow ratio and its price to sales ratio are both near the bottom of its range over the last several years. So it looks like a fairly affordable stock at these prices. McKesson's freezers are likely to be even more in demand because, as CBS News has reported, there's currently a shortage of dry ice because to produce dry ice requires CO2, and CO2 production was impacted by business closures caused by the pandemic.
So yeah, I think that if there's a dry ice shortage, I think the government's going to probably put some major investment into those companies at some point.
It's worth adding an important caveat to Dan's idea, which is that the Pfizer vaccine he mentioned, which requires the deep freeze storage, has an important competitor, Moderna. Moderna's vaccine can be stored for 30 days in a normal refrigerator. But Dan points out that Pfizer is a larger company and that production of a vaccine is going to have to be scaled up very quickly, which means that at least in the initial phases of vaccine rollout, there's going to be the possibility for more than one vaccine to flourish at a time, and the companies that are able to scale up production the fastest are going to capture the most market share.
I think that Moderna is a small enough company, even with their price going up so much, that if they make a vaccine that ultimately sort of becomes the vaccine a few years from now, and it takes over the market share at that point when there's not as much demand for it, I still think they could go up a staggering amount because they have the smaller market cap, so there's room for growth. But I think that if Pfizer gets this vaccine out as quickly as they think it's going to, I think that for this first phase of vaccines, they're probably going to take the whole pie on that.
Well, that's all for today's show. Wall Street Petting Zoo is available through YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher, or iTunes. We would love if you would subscribe and give us a 5-star review. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter, where I post throughout the week. We don't do any advertising for the show, so word of mouth is the only way we get the word out. And if you heard anything on the podcast this week that was useful to you, we would love if you would give us a like or share on your favorite social media platform. We really appreciate your support. You can also support the podcast financially by clicking the referral link to Webull under our YouTube video and opening a Webull brokerage account. If you deposit $100 into your Webull brokerage account using our referral link, not only will you get some free stocks, but we also will get some free stocks, and that helps support the podcast. Webull's great community and powerful analytics tools make it our trading platform of choice. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you back at the zoo next week.